What's up, guys? Welcome to the Real Estate Virgins podcast, where we are here to amplify your business. We're bringing in awesome guests, people that are on the ground doing actual work, making actual deals happen. And we're just here to take you to the next level because we're not just talkers, we're actually action takers. And today we're here with Jordan Brown.
What's going on, everybody? Super excited for our guest today. This is a big change for us because I feel like most of our guests, up until this point have been very similar to us. You've heard a lot of recurring themes, provided, like we've talked about the things that we do, and a lot of these other agents you've been hearing from do this as well. You're going to hear from someone who is like the daily grinder, like getting it done. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear from him and hear us pick his brain a little bit.
So today we have, drum roll please, Eliotto Elias, Entrepreneur of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, and Rookie of the Year. How you doing?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me.
He's like, I'm out of here. You botched my intro. Entrepreneur of the Year at our brokerage and Rookie of the Year. This guy's an absolute killer. I'm just really excited again to get to know your background, hear from you and your experiences, because it's such a varying landscape of what you can do in real estate. There's no one size fits all solution for everybody, and everyone kind of finds their own way through real estate. So we're excited to have you here.
Thank you guys for having me. This is the first time a discussion of mine gets recorded. So
let's go.
I'll make sure I'm on point today.
This is history.
Really?
Let's go.
I thought you've been on other podcasts.
Never. This is the first podcast.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at that.
That's pretty cool.
Real estate virgins, baby, making moves.
I know. Yeah.
A little nervous, but that's good.
Nice. Well, Elliot's a killer, man. If you ever walk into the office, you'll see
there.
He's there making calls. You're still making calls, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I just brought on a cold caller today, actually. Cold killer, really. He needs to be a killer. So, practiced. I almost perfected the art of cold calling, and you really got to do that to bring others on board. When you're scaling, you have to know how to leverage people. So right now, I brought a cold caller, and we'll see how he does.
Nice. That's awesome. Is that someone that's joining like you in your efforts? Like,
yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope. That's
me and him.
Two-headed snake, baby. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to grow from there. But before you became a cold killer, who were you?
Yeah, to give us your background, like who are you as a person, and we'll get into the real estate stuff. But like, tell us where you grew up. If you've been here in Austin, like or if you haven't been here in Austin, what brought you here? Like, who are you as a person?
So I grew up kind of all over the world. My dad was an engineer. So by trade, I'm an engineer, right? Kind of had to be an engineer. It took me 7 years to graduate college. I think I flunked out at 2 colleges. I never really publicly spoke about that. I was very embarrassed about it. So that kind of motivated me to say, hey, Elliot, your parents came from this country for you to be an engineer, and you failed. You got to do something else, and you got to be great at it. So real estate for me is something that I truly want to be great in, and that's why I'm doing it. But I grew up in Houston. I lived there for 8 years. Before that, I was in Russia.
H-Town.
Hell yeah. Russia and Kuwait. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a background overseas, and so.
Tell us about that. What were your ages when you were in Russia and Kuwait?
So when I was in Russia, I was there till 8th grade, and it was beautiful, right? When you're the new kid in school, it's beautiful because everyone wants to be your friend, right? I moved to Russia. It's the same thing. I was there in 9th grade. It's the first time I ever drank or anything like that. So for those of you who don't know, water is cheaper in Russia, or vodka is cheaper than water in Russia.
That's crazy.
So everyone was drinking over there, and beer is not even considered alcohol. It's like a soda.
Wow.
They got it in the apple juice boxes.
So Russia was very weird. It was a strange experience. I came here to Houston, and I didn't fit in automatically, right? I was a little bit different. And
how were you different?
Because, I feel like moving here to America, a lot of you guys, really it was me too, but grew up with the same people. So it's weird when you see someone new come in, and those relationships are already cemented. So I kind of had to learn from scratch how to build relationships with people who are very used to being with each other, which was actually a blessing because I learned how to kind of get into those circles, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be friends with this group, right? I walk into high school, all I see is these people look cool, I'm going to go hang out with them, right? So, I mean, I apply the same thing in my real estate every day.
Just building rapport with people quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
High school, man. All the cliques.
Oh my god.
Dude,
Remember,
it's
you had the
crazy.
cool kids table, you had the jocks, the nerds, the goths, all that. So that's pretty cool that you were able to like. So where were you born at?
Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah.
So you really like trekked all over. It was LA to Russia you've been all over the place. So I bet that's been a very unique perspective shift for you, to where you've gotten to see through a lot of different points in your lives, different lifestyles, different ways that people do business, how they conduct themselves. I bet that's been really beneficial for you.
It has, man. I mean, just having that worldly experience is so key. I may not have seen how people do business in other places, but I know people's mannerisms, and it typically bleeds into how you do business. There's no better place to do business than in the U.S. People are ethical and they do things the right way for the most part. Places like Lebanon, where I'm from, you know, it's a broken country, and it bleeds into how you do business. So,
Dang. Yeah, so I would say you've probably, what would you say was like your favorite place when you were growing up? Like you've experienced a few different, you know, cities and countries. Like, would you say like, let me rephrase that. Would you say you're in a really good spot now in Austin, where you think that all those things, your life experiences, are like culminating into this present right here and now is helping me?
absolutely. I think Austin is the best place to be in the U.S. right now. And the amount of people these companies are bringing in from everywhere, India, China, Russia, you know, I can pretty much relate to wherever you're from. I can relate to you. And that's just a me thing. I probably wouldn't be able to thrive in a place where it's just people from that place. So this is Austin is small, but it's a melting pot for a lot of people coming in from everywhere. So I don't think there's a better place to be.
And that kind of, you know, melting pot that you talked about is, I think, so crucial for a lot of people's personal development, their business development. Like, you have to know that you're going to do business with more than just people who think like you, who look like you, who talk like you.
Especially Jordan and I actually came from a small town in South Texas, and like the way they think is completely different than how people think here, as well as different perspectives, you know, working with different ethnicities and cultures. And it's just so, and like you said, it's a culmination of all that. And it's really cool to be a part of that.
Austin was so refreshing for me. I know like you and I lived in San Antonio for a year. Granted, that time of our lives was a lot different. But man, you want to talk about like challenging your views, or like, if you're in a small town, like if we would have stayed in Victoria, I wouldn't have known anything other than Victoria ever.
Yeah.
And your thoughts and your opinions aren't challenged. They just get reinforced by the people who think the exact same way that you do.
Yep.
And you just think that you're right all the time. And moving to Austin really challenged me, both like politically, with a lot of different stuff. So I'm really thankful, you know, to have experienced that change. And I'm sure for you, just moving all over, like you got a little bit of everything.
Experienced a lot, yeah.
It can be handicapping. Even if you're in a place like Austin, it could be handicapping if you don't go out of your way to meet these people. If you hang out with the same 2-3 people from your hometown, but you're in Austin, it's the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, just because you're here doesn't mean you can take advantage of it. Put yourself out there. It's how I met you guys. You know what I mean? You guys are crushing it. You do things that are a little bit different than me, but I'm glad I have this relationship with you guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Networking is where it's at. Like, we're so big on networking. And if you're, again, you got your same circle forever, it's not going to help you build your network. And, you know, John has said a quote. I can't remember who you got it from, so I'm not going to act like me or John are going to take credit for this, but your network is your net worth.
For sure.
You know, so like being able to, and that goes into all sorts of things. When you're getting clients, you got to have a big network. When you're helping them, when they need something,
or have access to a big network.
Yes, like if someone reaches out and they're like, "Hey, like, do you know someone who can help me with this?" Yes, I can I'm the problem solver for you, and that just reinforces that you're the expert.
Yeah. Well, Elliot, he's super creative when it comes to purchasing properties. You purchased how many houses?
16 so far.
16 houses.
Woo!
Last year?
In 8 months, yes.
8 months. That's insane. And what's your
That's
goal?
wild.
What's your goal this year?
10K in cash flow.
Got you. 10K in cash flow. Got you.
Passive.
So one cool thing is I'm sort of switching gears a little bit. You'll find that I do that a lot. When I walk into a room and Elliot is cold calling, sometimes I'll hear these ladies like just like bitching out at him or like complaining or saying like, hey, this is just a waste of my time. And it's so funny watching Elliot like react because he's like, okay, great, but what's the lowest you'll take? Okay, great. He'll just like constantly, what's it called? Deflect.
Always be closing.
Yeah, deflect objections. At least of what I've seen. How do you handle so much rejection?
Well, I mean, it's not something I was good at initially.
Oh, really?
Right. Real estate really made me comfortable with it. And to me, they're not objections anymore. They're just another reason that I can hit that's a pain point. So,
Gotcha.
Hey, I don't want to sell because I don't want to sell this low. I got $30K I need to pay for this next house. Great. You need $30K. Let's structure the deal in a way to where you do make $30K. And if you have a loan, we don't have to pay it off. I don't want to get too into detail, but I really need to see what the situation looks like to help these people. I'm not here to try to get as low as possible. I'm here to help people as much as possible. So,
and that's really cool because you're like creative, and a lot of agents that are listening to this podcast, they're thinking so 3-dimensional: buy, sell, lease, right? And you coming on this podcast, you see things completely different than what most people do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I don't get, excuse my French, shat on like at least 5 times a day, it's a weird day.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I have to now. Like if I'm not doing something real estate related, I gotta get shat on something else.
That's funny.
He's a glutton. He's a glutton for pain.
I mean, it builds you. Like I like do things that are uncomfortable until it makes you comfortable, and then I chase the next thing.
Nice. Yeah.
You're like a masochist.
Who do you look up to? Like people like that. Do you know? Do you?
Yeah. Is there anyone that like you are that you're trying to like mold what you do after? Anyone that inspired you to do what you're doing?
I take a little bit from everyone. I think everyone has things they're really good at. I can't think of anyone that I want to be completely. I do want to be myself at the end of the day, but someone I really look up to and I've recently connected with is Ari Rostegar. He's a developer here in Austin, and we keep our conversations private, but one conversation I had was me going through this journey of real estate is when you do it, you lose a lot of people in your life and you get a lot of objections that way. Those are different objections, right? So he has a mindset where it's like so resilient and so strong. Like you lose people in your life, why? And move on. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is the new Elliot. I'd love to introduce you to this Elliot. If not, we can talk about the old times maybe later. But, if we don't have anything to connect with right now, then I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's all business. People are either with you or, we can talk about that later.
I'm a mindset guy, so he's a big mindset guy.
Yeah. I hate time wasters and meetings that have no substance.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell like when you're at an appointment and they like keep wanting to talk about like I had this one listing and I swear I was there for like an hour and a half and the whole like presentation had been over for maybe, it only took up about 30 minutes. So that last hour was just like them telling me about like they used to rodeo in this place and this and that. And you're like, all right, cool. Like, great. When can I get the photographers out here?
Yeah. So we're all about giving value to agents and investors and entrepreneurs. So when it comes to making deals happen, do you mind sharing a little bit about how you make deals happen? How do you find leads? Your cold calling and we already talked about your goals, but
walk through like a typical day. Like, what does a day in your shoes look like?
A day in my shoes is I wake up at 5 a.m. I run 2 miles just to wake up. I go home, clear my emails, take a cold shower first. I try to get my mind right before I do anything because from 7 a.m. to basically 5 p.m., I'm lighting fires. In y'all's case, you're dealing with floods, but I'm lighting.
We'll get into that.
I'm unlighting fires all day, every day. There's a lot of moving parts, and ultimately I get the call. So whether we're dumping things that need to be dumped at the house or someone doesn't show up at a job site and we have an inspection that day, I'm getting those calls. So while I'm getting those calls, I try to lead gen as much as possible. And the way I do that is I call people who need to sell, not who want to sell. So what does that mean? It means calling probates. So if you don't know what a probate is someone who's died and they have real estate attached to the house. So typically those people need to sell. The kids don't want to partner on the deal and rent it out or flip it, right? So I come in, I say, hey, I'll buy the deal from you. A foreclosure, I'm sure everyone knows what a foreclosure is. Or just anyone in distress, really. So that's what I target. That's how I can buy cheap property. I need to find distress. Distress doesn't always mean it's distressed physically. There's situations that are distressed. So
one thing that I took away from that is a recurring theme is no matter what your approach is, lead gen is still important no matter what aspect of real estate you're focusing on. Whatever you've got going on, you still have to lead gen.
I got the same thing.
Exactly. Like whether you're cold calling, whether you've got 6 deals going on right now, you got, floods happening, you got people not showing up to job sites, doesn't matter. You are still responsible for lead gen because what you do now is what you're going to have on your plate in the next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Always 24/7. Even if it sucks, you have to do it. Like I probably don't enjoy calling 8 hours a day anymore. But if my cold caller were to say, hey, if he were to quit tomorrow, I'm going to sit on that phone and call for 8 hours a day, right? You can never get too good to do the grunt work. You got to get dirty to look good. So I think cold calling is like one of the best ways to get dirty. You could go and pay for leads and stuff like that and cheat. But guess what? You're going to get a lead. You're not going to know how to convert him because you've never had tough conversations. And to our other point, you've never had people shit on you all day.
Yeah.
So.
Ricky Carruth is a YouTube, or I found him on YouTube. I'm sure he's not just there, but he's a real estate agent and broker, I believe, who he coaches people on how to get confident with cold calling. Do you have a ritual that you do before each call? I know with Ricky, I watched him do a 2-hour session the other day, and before every call, it doesn't matter if it's the first one or if it's the 100th one, he's sitting there and he pumps himself up and he slaps himself in the face and he's like, let's go. He just gets hyped for every call, and that's how he deals with, I guess, the rejection aspect, the mundane nature of the dialer and things like that. Do you do anything like that?
Elliot, he does a cold shower before every call. That's a lot of showers.
He just has this little cord that he presses, just cold shower.
What's that machine called in the science lab?
Yeah, the emergency wash.
Oh, yeah.
That's
hilarious. No, I don't pump myself up anymore. I'm more into the constant quality of things more than hyping myself up before every call. If I do that, I would just burn out very quickly.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's more routine for you now.
Absolutely.
You don't have to hype yourself up,
Well, I guess the other aspect to this is I know cold calling isn't per se for me. I was talking with Elliot that I did it for 5 years at AT&T. Every Tuesday we did the business blitz, and it was just 2 hours of just constant calling and cold calling where these people have no idea why I'm calling. It's kind of the same situation, except instead of trying to fix a solution, it was strictly I'm trying to sell you something. And so that sucked.
Yeah.
How are you motivating yourself?
I didn't want to get written up. It was either you did it. And another part was I had to, if I did it, it showed that I was I was a dependable employee. And so no one wanted to do it. So they would take volunteers, and it was, hey, it will get me out of the office for 2 hours. I get my lunch bought, and I look good to my superiors. And now, again, we talked about this. If you're cold calling as a real estate agent, you're doing it for you. You're doing it for you and for these clients on the other end of the phone. You kind of almost have to change your mindset to where, in my situation, I looked at it as I'm bothering people and I'm interrupting their day to sell them something that if they wanted, they would have reached out to me.
Gotcha.
Versus Elliot is I'm your solution provider.
Yeah.
So what pain points do you have with your real estate, and how can I help?
I actually want to get into that is what does that conversation look like? And if you don't mind, actually going through that conversation, when you get on the call with someone you don't know, but you know that they probably need to sell their house.
You want to do a role play?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So let's say you're a foreclosure.
Okay, foreclosure. And how much information do you know about me?
I just know that I pulled your record from the county, and
Okay.
I know that you're foreclosing.
Okay, cool. You ring.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, is this John?
Yeah, this is John.
John, the reason for this call, and look, I'm typically pretty straightforward with my approach, okay? I don't want to waste your time. I know you get a lot of calls like this, John, but the reason I'm calling is because I pull a list of foreclosures every month, and I noticed your property on the foreclosure list. Let me just ask you, first of all, do you have a solution for it?
Not really. I'm just trying to figure out how I can keep the house.
John, what would be your ideal solution?
Well, either sell the house for what I want or keep it and just live in it.
Look, I'd love to help you out, and I'm an investor, okay? So I got to make money off the property. I'm not here to buy retail. I just want to plant a seed in your head right now, okay? And I may not be the best buyer for you. But tell me a little bit about the condition. Does it need any work?
Yeah, it needs some work, floors, roof is a little old, and I haven't mowed the lawn in a while.
No problem. We buy as is. So, look, I'd love to meet you in person before I throw out any numbers, and I see your property's foreclosing in 2 weeks. It is a little bit slim, but I can help you, and I'll take you out of this solution if you'll let me help you.
How would you save me though? If apparently it's supposed to foreclose in 2 weeks.
So basically, you're foreclosing because you owe money to the bank.
Gotcha.
Let's just be straight up. You owe money to the bank, okay? And it sucks. I mean, unfortunately, you probably don't have any family that can pay that off. So I'll come in and I'll pay off that reinstatement, which is the amount that is going to bring your loan current.
Okay.
So typically, I don't pay cash for your property. I would just pay off the reinstatement, and then I would keep you up to date on your payments so that you don't have to foreclose. Look, I'll present all options to you. If I'm not the best option, I'm going to tell you.
Okay, cool. Boom.
Love that. I love that. It was
a few things that I got from it was that one, he wanted to try to provide a solution for me, and then two, he tried to set that appointment as soon as possible. Did you hear that?
the urgency, the sense of urgency. You're closing in 2 weeks. I might be able to help you if we act quickly. There it is.
Yeah.
It can't sound salesy at all. And from my perspective, I'm calling a lot of these.
Yeah.
So look, if this guy doesn't want my help, I'm not going to waste my time trying to help.
On to the next one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you find that so you're calling probate and foreclosures, are those typically like your bread and butter? Like those are the lists that you're calling daily?
Yeah, my bread and butter is driving for dollars and just driving around and looking at the most banged up house I can find and just knocking on their door and, just be like, hey, would you consider selling? They'd be like, why do you ask? In my head, I'm like, dude, you've got
because your house looks like shit.
Literally, it looks like shit, right? So, those are typically the best deals for me. But
and a lot of times if they own the property, sorry to interrupt, I'm bad at that. A lot of times if they own the property and it needs a lot of work and you're like, dude, I can get you some money, and a lot of times that money is more than what they probably are used to.
Yeah, one thing I took away on my previous team, the team lead had a listing and it was a potential foreclosure property. And even though she wasn't an investor, so her approach was not to either buy it or flip it or whatever, even though that could totally be an option. A lot of people who are heading to foreclosure may not even know that they can just sell the thing. So if you're not getting it as an investor, you're still a real estate agent. You can still list that property. Yeah. So there's so many options where it's hey, if you're dealing with someone who is not necessarily combative, but if they know, hey, I know I'm in foreclosure, but I know what the house is worth. I'm not trying to let go for super discounts or whatever. It's okay, cool. Have you ever thought about listing the property?
And that's a solution I bring as well. I mean, that's why I have my license, so that I can provide that solution.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to provide that solution, you're leaving money on the table.
Absolutely. Being licensed, I don't care what people say. I don't care if they say it's a liability. If you want to be an investor, I think you should get licensed.
Why?
Because first of all, you have access to the MLS.
Okay.
Right? I don't have to hit up my realtor 3-4 times a day for access. I make 100 offers a week. Okay. find one realtor that will make 100 offers a week for me.
Nope.
Not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen, right? So I can leverage my license to its fullest capabilities, and I'll make it back in one deal. All the yearly fees and all that stuff, I'll make it back in one deal. So, you know, realtors are held to a higher standard, right?
Yep.
Everyone should be ethical anyways when they're buying real estate.
What were you doing before real estate? I'm curious, like, what your first job was, and then like what the transition was from whatever you were doing to real estate is what I'm interested in right now.
So it wasn't my first job, but what I was doing before was civil engineering, and it's what I went to school for. It's what everyone in my family does. It's all I knew, right? So I worked a civil engineering job for about a year. Actually, my 1-year anniversary for quitting is going to be April 15th.
That's awesome.
Right?
Congratulations.
Wow.
Thank you. I quit that day. It was the scariest day of my life. Looking back now, I'm like, God, dude, that's the best thing I ever did, right? I didn't have a plan. I didn't save up money. I just quit my job. And if I can't bet on myself, I cannot bet on anyone. So, you know, that job was terrible, not because of the company, not because of anything else other than me not being able to orchestrate my day and orchestrate my success drains me. So even if I'm failing and I have my destiny in my hands, meaning, you know, and a lot of realtors, they get their license, no one holds their hand, people hate it. I love that, right? Me not being able to control my destiny drained me. And mentally, I was not there. You know, you can fall into depression, things like that. I'd rather be broke and doing not what I love, but having my destiny in my own hands. Yeah. So I think real estate's the best.
I love that.
I agree. It's same kind of similar situation. My 1-year anniversary was November for leaving AT&T, and like you said, scariest day was
November.
Yeah,
No way.
Yeah, so me sitting there going, I have this cushy like corporate ladder job that I fucking hate. And it's like, I would rather do the risky business of real estate, of not trading the security for like this mental awakening where it's like, I control how hard I want to work today. I control what kind of like production that I'm having. Because if you don't have business, you pick up the phone, you may have just made a whole year's salary from 1 week of calling or 1 day of calling. Like, and that possibility is exciting. Yeah. So not, you know.
Do you think that quitting on a whim helped you push you and put your back against the wall so that you could actually be successful?
Absolutely. I told everyone I quit. Everyone in my family, everyone said, Elliot, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you went to school for 7 years and you didn't even finish this job for a year and you quit your job. You're a quitter. I said, no. Like, I'm meant for something a lot greater, right? So me not making income at all and not saving any money really did put a bullet on my back.
Wow. That's
absolutely. That light a fire under you.
Yep.
I'm interested. So when you started, like, when you got your real estate license, did you instantly just like gravitate to cold calling?
No, man. I was I was doing everything. I was trying to be a realtor. I was trying to be a wholesaler. I was trying to do everything. And it's super confusing when you first get into real estate, especially as a licensed agent, right? Someone new comes to the brokerage. Everyone tells you how you should conduct business. And I was very confused, honestly. I was very confused. And I'm glad I was. I'm glad I didn't go through a, let's say, training program with Keller Williams or something like that, because guess what? It would have trained me to be a licensed realtor, which is fine, and people fucking kill it as a licensed realtor. But me personally, I wanted to invest in real estate, and I didn't know that when I got my license. But now I found that me investing in real estate is really what I want to do. So yeah, it's confusing.
We talk all the time about, you know, these big box brokerages. They do what's safe. They make the money when they get to put their logo on you as a buy and sell agent. And that's why they promote it so much. That's why it's their bread and butter, because that's what they make the money off of you for. Versus with being an investor for yourself, you're making your own future for you. You know, you're taking the destiny, like you said, into your own hands and carving out your own path, and they don't make nearly as much money off of you when you do it that way.
So I was talking to an agent earlier this week, and he was saying, man, there's some agents that just get it, right? Like they start and they just get it. And I feel like you really, the phrase is burn the boats, right? And you just like, you know what? I don't want to have the option of sailing away. I want to make sure that I put my back against the wall to make it. But what would you tell those agents that actually do need a little more guidance, Because I feel like you had like no option, and as well as you didn't feel comfortable with someone else having control over your day.
Right. I would tell that agent and I'm someone who, I'm not going to motivate you to do something. I'm going to break it down and see what the actual issue is. Why are you not succeeding? Why are you not having the level of success you are? How many of these agents are waking up and they don't even have a calendar?
Yeah.
How many are waking up and they haven't even set an appointment that week? Like anyone I can pick up someone from the street and they can schedule their week for 2 weeks in real estate. Just have coffee with people. Call realtors, call anyone, you know what I mean? If you're not finding success, it's because you are not thinking about how you can be successful, right? You're just thinking, okay, I want to be an agent who makes $1 million a year. But, an agent who makes $1 million a year is probably networking their ass off, and every single realtor in Austin knows them, right? Like for you, what does your schedule look like, for example, as like a top producer?
Usually I wake up around 5:30. I try to work out. I do a little meditation.
Take notes, everyone.
I do a little meditation. And then one of the first things I do, I read 10 pages of a book every morning. Actually, for last couple of weeks, a couple of days I haven't been able to do that, but I try to. 10 pages a day. And then I'll get into my day, write my goals down, and I will just get it started. So looking at my appointments, like you said, having a calendar is so important. And so for me, we actually use Sunday evenings to plan out our entire week. And then we have a lot of key things that we do almost every week. So like video walkthroughs, like certain meetings and stuff like that. Like this podcast, it's always on our calendar for Fridays,
Yeah, if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's so important. Yeah.
And I noticed that you had mentioned, and both of you guys kind of have like a recurring theme where your morning is like, I'm going to do the thing I don't want to do, which is workout and the cold shower. I took away that from the cold shower because if you can force yourself to do that, you've already done something that you don't want to do. So it's I'd hear from like Rogan, control, Goggins, like a bunch of those guys, Huberman, like they all talk about if you can wake up and do something that you don't want to do, you'll put yourself in the better mindset to take on whatever that task is that you got to do that day.
And it's sort of connected to building confidence, because if you can't keep the promises that you make to yourself, then what is that telling your subconscious, right? Like your subconscious is just telling you can't even do what you told yourself you were going to do, right?
You're losing confidence by the minute.
Exactly.
Every time. And that's why people do not set any expectations for themselves because they're going to let themselves down.
Yep.
It's
Guess
tough.
what?
Yeah.
Dude, if I'm, I used to tell everyone what I was going to do so I can be held accountable. But now I just tell myself, and it holds even more of a weight than telling someone else.
Yeah.
I could care less if someone knew that I didn't fulfill this. But if I tell myself, Elliot, you didn't run 2 miles because you slept too late or you wanted to snooze, I'm going to think about that in the middle of the day instead of being like, damn, Elliot, you're a badass. You woke up still. Keep making these calls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How long, when you started doing real estate, did it take for you to get your first sale? And like what was the source that it came from? Kind of give us the details of your first transaction.
My first paycheck was a wholesale. It was for $5,000. My strategy going into real estate was calling realtors. Okay, realtors hold the keys to a lot of business that they don't want as well. So I was calling realtors who had listings who were probably on the market for way too long or distressed listings, right? And mind you, I got in at a great time in real estate, multiple offers. I couldn't even get a realtor on the phone at that time. And it was terrible. I was like, how does anyone do business like this? Like, people don't even answer my emails. Now it's a lot different, right?
Right. Everyone returns your calls. Everyone writes those emails.
Follow-ups, everything. Right?
Everyone is now on point where they weren't for the last 2.5 years.
And I'm glad I got in at that point because I got to see how crazy the market was. I got to see basically what a market can be.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Did you shift at all when the market shifted?
oh my God, man, I went crazy when the market shifted.
Yeah.
This is my market.
I love it.
This is my market.
This is your market, actually. It really is. Yeah.
We talk about, like, a few episodes ago, we said if you're an investor, right now is the time to be doubling down on your efforts.
Yep.
Because you can't get top dollar anymore, you know? So it's like, hey, investors are out there providing solutions for sellers that need to sell their house.
Yeah, one thing I love about TRE specifically is, like, in our TRE chat on Facebook or our group on Facebook, I love whenever I see other people saying, hey, I've got this deal over here in this city, and I know it's listed for this. I just talked to whoever, and they said they take substantially less. And I'm like, dude, people are out here grinding. This is the entrepreneur's market right now.
For sure.
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to get into real estate at all, I think this is the best time, whether you're a realtor or you're an investor, not because you can buy property cheap, but because this will teach you the toughest lessons. If you want to be a wholesaler and you put a property under contract, it was easy to sell it before. Now you got to put in the work. Like the weak will fail, but if you put in the work and you're consistent, right? The turtle always wins. If you're consistent in this market, you will win. I think there was a stat, like how many realtors dropped off in Austin?
I think it was like 30% or something.
A lot of people didn't pay their dues.
Yeah.
And it's not shocking. It's not easy to be a realtor anymore. There's not just your listing selling over the weekend for buku's amount of money. It's like you got to work to sell a house now.
And for agents that don't know what dues are, we have association dues that we have to pay, quarterly?
Yeah, every quarter.
I think it's due actually today, if I'm not mistaken.
It sure is. Yeah.
They raised it.
Oh, they
raised it
did?
by $20.
No! And they barely even fight for us, I'm not going to lie. Never mind. I didn't say that.
We're going to get shut down.
I
Thanks,
know,
John.
right?
Thanks, John.
I know. Okay, so I'm going to steal one of Jordan's questions. But if you were to start over, right, with all the knowledge that you know now, what would you have changed when you first started in real estate?
Like if you could go back in time and you met Elliot from when you first got your license, what would you tell him? Give me like your biggest takeaway that you've gotten.
Nothing. If I were to start again, I would do everything the same.
Okay.
Every single lesson that I learned has brought me to a point where I am today. I could go back and say, look, damn, Elliot, if you started a year ago and you had this clear vision a year ago, you would have went crazy. That Elliot probably would be at 100 properties right now. But that Elliot would not know how anything else works, right? So I knew how the realtor game works. I knew how the wholesaler game works. I educated myself on everything. So now, instead of just being a one-tracked investor, I've done everything. I've failed in everything. And nothing will ever teach you more than failing.
Yeah, there's so much value in failure.
Absolutely.
Clip it. There it is. That is the biggest takeaway right there. If you tuned out and you heard nothing else, you will learn the most from your failures. And real estate is the truest example of that.
We had a recent failure.
We sure did. Let's tell them about it. We just came from literally
just now.
Just got here to record this podcast, coming from a property that we were supposed to close on right now. We were supposed to be closing on this property, and the buyers go for their final walkthrough, and the entire house is flooded. Love that for us.
Yeah.
So now
the
we're
entire house. And so
you want to be an investor? You think everything's cushy? It's not. Shit goes wrong, and you got to figure out solutions. And that's what we're doing right now. Is now we're having to shift between, our maturity date for our loan is today. The insurance ends today.
Going around that.
We're gonna figure it out.
Well, we've
already made we were on the phone.
Yeah, we were on
on the way over here. We got to figure it out. But things are gonna happen. Shit happens. Like in any job. Things do not go how you want it to 100% of the time. And real estate is interesting because, of course, Elliot said this, of course it's going to happen on the day you're closing. of course it's going to be a big thing where you got to get insurance involved, and it's going to push things out 2 to 4 weeks.
But how beautiful is that? Like, you just handled the situation and now you're in a podcast. Anyone else who probably don't have the mental calluses you have, which real estate brought you, would have shriveled.
Exactly. And now it's not even, in addition to that, you now know, like, for next time, like, if something happens, hey, I've been in this situation before. Let's not panic.
So let me ask you, what would you have changed?
In this situation?
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Elliot answer. I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Oh,
See?
God.
The biggest failure. He wouldn't have changed a thing.
I would have checked up on the property a little more.
I wouldn't have let it go 7 days without looking at it.
No,
Here's a change. So write down all the names of your enemies
Yeah.
at all times.
Write down the
Yeah.
names of your enemies.
Know who could have possibly sabotaged your transaction.
Yeah, we actually on the conversation here, we were like, okay, who could have sabotaged that house?
Yeah.
We have a couple names.
So
We're coming for you.
Nah. Okay, cool. So what do we talk about next?
Do you have any of your like craziest stories of like people freaking out on the phone with you, or like maybe a client interaction that any person, or maybe when you first started, you would have been like, yeah, this isn't my thing. Like, has anyone absolutely just lost it on you?
man, Jordan, I put myself in life-threatening situations to get deals done.
No way.
Yeah, no joke. I won't do anything, but I'll do everything to get a deal done. And it's because others won't. So, I mean, dude, I've been chased by pit bulls. I've been, now I start carrying, I start strapping, because of the nature of my business.
You do a lot of deals in Killeen too, right?
Killeen, Texas, baby.
Stay strapped,
One
baby.
of the safest cities in Texas.
The oasis of Texas.
The Oasis.
Our lawyers are going to make us tell you that don't listen to John on that statement.
Oh, that was sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah, Killeen, Texas, if y'all don't know, it has one of the largest military bases on earth, and what drives the market over there is VA buyers. Mm-hmm. But everyone else is basically a low-income worker. So what does that mean? It breeds a lot of C/D class neighborhoods, a lot of poverty, a lot of just like, and I don't want to spend too much time up there because a frog in boiling water will just stay until it dies. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure I stay in Austin, stay sane, but provide a good product for these people in Killeen. A lot of investors just paint and then put carpet, and the bathtub still has shit in it, right? I try to do something a little bit more nice for the people up there and charge the same prices.
When it comes to rent, or when it comes to
when it comes to renting, my main goal is to hold as much real estate as possible.
Gotcha. So
naturally, I'm going to rent everything out. I don't like Killeen. I just went through my first eviction last week.
How was that?
I put $80K into the property, and I finished it about 4 months ago. I just evicted them. I got to put another $30K into it. Mm-hmm. So that deal's underwater already. But guess what? Would not have done anything differently. Yeah. Now I know not to hold these and put as much money in these rentals up in lower class neighborhoods.
Gotcha. Is that a deal with Noah or no?
No.
No, okay, gotcha.
That's my deal.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice.
All these are such like good, valuable like tips for investors. Like, and you listening right now, you may not even consider yourself as an investor. I guarantee at some point you're going to sit there and go, oh, what if I bought my own property?
Or there's going to be an opportunity that you have that you should absolutely take advantage of. And the thing is like, yeah, this podcast, we're being super transparent because like people look at us and like, oh, it must be nice, or like, wow, he's always doing this or he's always doing that. When in reality, like we're going through the fire, actually going through difficult situations. And in my opinion, like the biggest solution makers are the ones that are going to succeed the most,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I'm not a real estate investor. I'm a professional opportunist
and
a professional problem solver. So what we learn here in this industry can be applied to anything.
Yeah.
We could do anything. I mean, man, if I ever get married and my wife has objections, I'm going to get to the core of the objection, right?
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be someone who's going to be like, you don't love me anymore? I'll leave. Like, why did you leave?
Tell me why you don't love me anymore.
No, man, it's so beautiful. And, real estate teaches you so much about just life, period. So, even if you don't love real estate, I think everyone should get into it just because it teaches you really tough lessons.
Yeah, and I love that there's also a lot of opportunities where, we've talked about everyone having a different avenue, and I think that the realtor with options, like if your bread and butter is buying and selling, which I would say is kind of like that's more what I focus on is buy, sell, and I dabble a little bit in investing. So if you're someone like me and you're at a listing appointment and you come across this opportunity that's just like a golden investment opportunity, you need to be well equipped enough to be able to have that conversation and possibly convert that into a property of your own versus just listing, right? John and I have talked about, you could wholesale a property if it's the best solution for them. You could flip it if it's the best solution for them. You could list it if it's the best for them. But knowing what those options are and being creative with those solutions for your clients' problems opens up a world of opportunities that you may not have known existed.
100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Man, I had a question. I completely forgot.
Sorry, I was rambling.
I know.
You're
I like
sick.
that though. That was sick. Sick. Oh, all three of us are in this group, a part of our brokerage called the Elite Entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, we missed you at the meeting.
My bad.
But one of the things that you brought up, which is really cool, is that you're wanting to do a charity. Are we allowed to talk about that, or?
Sure. Yeah.
He's like, well, you outed it already, so
I know.
Now I got to do it.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's no bigger bullet I put than on myself. So let's talk about it.
So you have a big goal about starting a charity, and why is that?
It's so, to be more specific about this charity, it's more so for the mentally handicapped community. And me, naturally as a person, I don't have too much sympathy for those who bleed the same blood as me and who are born with all the same capabilities as me. What I do have sympathy for,
And still make excuses.
absolutely. But what I do have sympathy for are those who are born without the mental capabilities that we have. So I really want to cater to them. I haven't figured it out quite yet. I know they're not self-sufficient, so they're always needing someone to hold their hand in something, right? So, I mean, it's just one of those things I think about, and, I don't get too emotional, but I do get emotional about that for some reason.
It's
Yeah.
okay to get emotional, man. I mean, the thing is like sometimes we've got to anchor ourselves in something bigger than what we are in order to even have that vision of a higher level.
Yeah, and I love that you have like an idea for, like, some people don't even get to the idea part of giving back. And I know, like, with Impact Property Group, what's big rooted in John, which attracted me to Impact Property Group, was the give back portion. And real estate is the vessel, the vehicle that makes it happen.
Yep.
So I love that that's on your mind. That's probably a vision board goal of yours, which is great. I think that's incredible.
Especially up in Killeen, Texas. I saw a need. There's not much funding up there. So really, I want to be a resource for all these people to come to and provide something, like every time, kudos to everyone helping them right now, but I want a better solution, and I'm going to find it. I don't know what it is, but, I'm going to find it. I always do. When you go into these schools with, like, the special ed kids, classrooms and stuff like that, I feel like not much goes on. I don't know, man. You can tell I'm still in the thinking phase about it. But
do you have some? If you don't mind me asking, this might be a little personal, but do you have somebody close to you that might?
No, I don't. I do not. And no.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So I could leverage the fact that I'm in real estate to get them to be inspired. I'm sure something inspires them, and like you guys said, you got to do something bigger than what you are doing, right? Bigger than yourself. So if you really want to make an impact in this world, make it on others, not just yourself.
100%.
I think one thing that makes a lot of people great is the fact that greatness is more than just success, and success is defined as many things, but I think most people think monetarily. And if you've got all this money or this time, the freedom, whatever it is that real estate gets you, and that's all good things for you, and you don't pass it on to something, or you don't use that freedom, whether it's financial, time, all the above, for something other than yourself, it's a waste.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think we're just like a small speck of sand in this entire universe, and if we're not like trying to at least leave a legacy and pass on like the ideas and the charities and the positive things that we can be a part of, then we're literally wasting our time on this earth. You know,
Legacy, you nailed it. Legacy. Like, how many selfish investors are there who are just sharks and they don't do anything for anyone else? Yep. You know, I want real estate to be a great moneymaker, but I want to do it to be able to put myself in a position to where I can one day build churches.
Yep.
I can one day build a school for just these mentally handicapped people to actually provide like a beautiful use in society.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's always going to change, and always be able to take care of my family and myself. But, you know, taking care of others is very beautiful as well. Yep. But you also got to be really selfish to do that.
You got to be selfish to get to the point where you can then spread the resources or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, you know, a lot of times I have to be selfish with my time and take away time that I could be spending with my wife or my kid, so that there is a bigger thing, so that when I do have time with my kid and my wife, it's more valuable, you know, and not only that, but leaving that legacy for them when I'm not here. So yeah. But let's go ahead and finish it up. Usually at the end of the podcast, we try to do a tip of the week. And so we want to get you involved on this, if that's okay.
Sure.
Do you have any tips for newer agents that are getting into their career and that just really want to find their lane and where they want to go in real estate? I know that you started off way different than a lot of agents, but do you have any tips or guidance for new agents?
First of all, be the turtle, not the hare. Second of all, say yes until you get to a point where you have to say no. Say yes as much as you can until you have to start saying no.
Man, mic drop.
Exactly. That was going to be kind of mine too, is do something this week that makes you uncomfortable.
Okay.
Do something this week that you don't normally do from a prospecting perspective. If you talk to your sphere, that's great. If you do, you know, an event, that's great. But for me, for example, I'm kind of inspired to do a cold call. I want to see just what would happen, right? So push your boundaries, get outside of your own mind, and especially with cold calling, the worst thing that people can do is say no. That's it, man. They ain't going to hunt you down. They're not going to, over a phone call. Come on. Like, you got to get out of your own head about what you think is going to happen as a result from that call.
And my tip of the week is just the importance of leverage. And sometimes, like, we aren't the best at everything, but we are good at certain things. And so when you can leverage other people's specialties, what they're good at, and leverage is input versus output, right? So like, how much do you put input and how much are you getting out of it? And so for me, when I first started in real estate, there were so many things that I didn't know how to do that I probably should have hired someone to do, you know, that just wasted my time, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my tip of the week.
Elliot, where can people find you on social media?
Right now, Instagram, Bigger Pockets, and LinkedIn. I'm working on my social media presence right now. Nice. This will help for sure.
Perfect. Do you have a certain handle for your Instagram? Like, what's your
Instagram is Eliotto Elias. Elliot with one L, two T's. Elias, Elias. If you look my name up in Google, you'll find Elias Holdings. That's my company. That's where we're going to buy the most real estate on earth. You can quote me right now. You can check back with me in 5 years.
Let's get
I believe it. It's going to happen.
Let's do it.
Awesome. John, Instagram?
At John Michael Perez. Just got verified.
Yeah. This guy with his paid.
Come on.
No, it's a paid blue check mark. Get out of here.
Hey, okay.
Verified.
Okay. Yes, I did. I did pay for it.
And I called him out. I was like, you paid blue check mark, bitch.
How much is it?
It's $14.99 a month. But the thing is that
you get direct support, which is cool because I've seen John get hacked and like his accounts like when it's your lead source.
Thanks for taking my glory.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, John, like I've seen when you got hacked, and it was a big deal because like that's social media is where a lot of our content's put out. It's where lead generation comes from, so it's important. I get it. I get why you have a blue check mark.
Well, yeah. So actually, recently, another agent got hacked, and he gets tons of leads from Facebook and Instagram. And I was like, dude, you should get a verification because it's only $14.99 a month, and that's sort of like an insurance policy, so that if you ever do get hacked, now you have direct human support. Because if you've ever got hacked on any of those social media accounts, it is literally hell to get your account
It's
back.
awful. Do what you can to like 2-factor authenticate. Set that shit up before your profile becomes too valuable, because when you lose it and you don't have it set up, it's a pain in the ass. You're not going to get it back. There's no human support. Good luck.
And that's our tip of the week.
There you go. Jordan Sells ATX on Instagram. If you guys found any of this valuable, please leave us a review, a like, subscribe, all that good stuff on all of our social media. We want to hear back from you, anything that you took away, topics you want to hear about, or maybe other people you want to hear from, lenders, inspectors, all sorts of stuff. We love hearing back from you guys.
Elliot, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. Super awesome. You brought so much value, and we just appreciate you a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Keep killing it. I love what y'all do. Y'all inspire me.
I appreciate it, man. Well,
likewise.
Thank y'all for listening. And like Jordan said, please like, subscribe, comment, and we're looking forward to the next one. See you guys.
Go be great.